All right, so you have a huge team, and obviously you're talking about like leadership and keeping your team happy. How do you think about, first of all, how do you deal with such a big team? Like, how do you make sure that you, I know that as you sort of grow, you probably have to let more things go, and you have to trust into your team more, and like, how do you sort of like, think about like managing such a large organization?
Yeah. It's actually become second nature for me, but it wasn't 5 years ago when I had like a large team of Condé Nast across 22 titles and a lot of different stakeholders. But it all comes down to trust and empowering, and like, to me, the 80-20 rule. Like, do I believe that it could be perfect? Probably, but does it need to be? Absolutely not. So it's really about making people, fully empowered and have the space to fail.
Yeah.
But no, I'm always there to sort of back them up.
Yeah.
I definitely lean heavily into my women leaders as well. It's interesting what I found through the annual review process that we just finished. I found myself across all of the leaders on my direct team saying, as an opportunity, know how good you are, because they don't. Like, it's unbelievable how, it's just a difference from the women versus the men, but they don't believe in themselves.
Totally. It's like the imposter syndrome thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And, I still, deep down, there's always an element of like, can I do this? Do I believe in myself? And I've always been a very young senior leader. So it's, men in the room plus sort of being the younger woman in the room is always an interesting dynamic. So I take that and try to pay it forward as much as possible because they are truly brilliant and they just don't know it.
Right, right. And so how do you get them to sort of like recognize that and say like, own it, like how do you sort of pull that out of people?
I've started to call them out in little moments where they're second guessing themselves. Like, there was this one lady on my team who's amazing and she's hiring somebody in and she's just like, well, I don't know because she's as senior as me. And I'm like, you are great. You're hiring her. She's going to work for you. She's interviewing because she wants to work for you. Have the confidence and show up.
Totally.
And she'll know that too. So, in those moments, I just make sure I'm continuing to reinforce it because I don't think it's just like one time making sure they have the feedback.
Ongoing.
It's like they don't see sometimes what they're doing in real time.
And like sometimes when somebody told me once, like, if you hire a bag of really good talent, you're the one holding the bag at the end. So like, don't be afraid to hire people that are brilliant.
100%.
Yeah.
I also, listen, I have somebody great that just gave notice and I'm so like bummed and gutted about it. But I believe it's the right next move for her and I'm supporting her in all the ways I can because she's going to go off and she's going to do great things and we'll be forever connected. So to me, it's just like, how do you continue to breed positivity and confidence in the team at large, but then obviously the women leaders specifically.
Totally. I love it. I'm actually about to go do a women's panel right now. And the first question I'm going to ask is, do we still need to do women's panels or is it just marketing panels, right? So I think there's an interesting thing with like, I think so, because I do think that there is a lot of, the reality is it's still a man's world.
Yep.
It's still the way that it is on the ground. We still have that imposter syndrome. There's still all of these things, but at the same time, you're like, well, I also want to be just good at my job. Do I have to be good because I'm a woman in business or am I just good at business?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So there's that I have to overdo it because I'm a woman.
Yeah.
The last 2 years has also made it a little bit more difficult with the progress that was made. So I do think that those panels and those things to continue to create spaces and make sure that women are, boosting each other up is so important.
I think so too. I don't think it's passé yet, but I still think it's worth
Hopefully
asking the question. Someday, 10 years.